How did you get involved with the project?
I auditioned for it and I got cast.
Okay, good night, everybody. Hey guys, Randy Younger here, Under the Radar, here at the premiere of the new Apple TV Plus show, Servant, from the great mind of M. Night Shyamalan. I'm about to speak to some of the talent from the show. Here we go. Congratulations on the show, it's fantastic. From In and Out to this, do you look back on a career and say, job well done, or?
I'm certainly honored and grateful to be a part of this and to get to play this character. It's a challenge. It was
She's very challenging. She's a very tough cookie.
A challenging person.
Yeah.
Complicated.
Yeah. So not you, it seems.
Well, she's a working mother.
Okay.
And so there's a lot of
parallels.
a lot of stuff I could connect to quite easily. I think that any mother could. So.
Right.
Yeah.
So film, TV, stage. Do you prefer one over the other, or are they pretty much equal to you?
I feel very lucky to be in any medium that will have me, and I can't imagine a life where I had to pick one. So I feel grateful to do it all.
Are you a big horror buff yourself?
I do. I absolutely love scary films.
Yeah.
I love them.
What's your favorite?
I would have to say It's the original.
Okay.
As much as I love the remake,
okay, yeah.
but the original was the first horror film I ever saw. So
nice. You saw it on TV? You weren't even alive when it came out.
No. I watched it illegally on YouTube.
Okay.
It stuck with me. And also Silence of the Lambs is a big
wow.
one for me.
Good taste.
And Jaws. Oh my God, Jaws. Massively Jaws.
All classics.
All classics, yeah.
So I'm curious, what do you hope audiences take away from this show?
I just hope that people can, because at the core of this show, it's quite a sad subject, but it's also, it branches off into, it's funny and it's scary, hopefully, and it's going to make you cry and make you laugh, and so I think that's kind of what life is, really, and I think that is represented hopefully well in the show. So I hope people come away from it being scared, but also wanting to watch more, and not just scared. That's what we want to
Have you ever been a nanny yourself?
I've not. I babysat a couple times, but no, I've never been a nanny. I don't think anyone would let me alone with their kid after this show. No.
Did you have to do any special preparation, or what was that like?
Oh yeah, well, I mean, when I read the script, it was awesome. Okay. It was so firstly spooky, and it was a little bit kind of, you don't know what's going to happen, especially my character. I didn't know what her motives were, so I don't know, as an actor, it kind of keeps you really in the moment, which is very cool. All
right.
Yeah.
Are you a big thriller, mystery, horror person?
I'm not, actually.
Right.
I come from a comedy world, so I usually do a lot of comedy, but I was really excited when I read this script, and this character, it's like there's a lot of groundedness to her, but also there's sub-motives, like I said, so yeah. I don't really remember your question.
It's okay.
I use the word sub-motive, and I'm like...
So you come from comedy. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what was it like tackling this role? It's a little more serious.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, it's a thriller, but there is also a lot of levity in it. Like, there's moments of real humor, and I feel like we'll see in the screening, there's just, fun, awkward moments that Tony wrote, and I just think it's not just straight thriller. There's a lot of other nuance to it.
What do you hope audiences take away from the show?
Let's see. I mean...
It's a mystery, just like the show.
It's a mystery.
So you're right there with us. You're with the audience. You're watching this unfold as it happens.
I feel like this story is a lot about, motherhood and fatherhood, and how precious children are, and how, they also cannot be taken for granted. So there's a lot.
You've done film, you've done big blockbusters, you've done smaller films. How do you kind of juggle those? How do you choose your roles in that respect?
I try my best to work, because I enjoy to work. And within that, I try and choose things that I think I can lend something interesting and new to. I don't have an enormous ego about trying to do this necessarily or that necessarily. It's just, if I think I can do something with it, I will give it my best shot. And I've been wrong.
I like the honesty. That's awesome. Yeah, sure. How did you get involved with Servant?
I auditioned the old classical way. I auditioned repeatedly.
Nice.
I read it. I loved it. I kept loving it, and I kept auditioning. And if it was a sign of my passion, then I was willing to do it. But it'd been brought to me by Steve Alexander, who's my agent. and it was just such a good script. We both felt that there was something special there, and the competition was very high, so I had to audition a lot.
I'm glad you got the role.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, and there's a lot of food porn in this show. It's awesome.
Yeah.
What was it like learning about the different cuisines, the different styles of preparation and cooking?
It was excellent. I was very blessed. I had a great chef with me who's Drew DeTomo, and he really guided me through a lot of it. We picked apart the recipes, we figured out how we were going to do it best, and actually spent all my spare time with Drew cooking and buying produce and figuring stuff out. So
Probably more than remembering your lines,
way
right?
more than reading my lines, which,
That's cool.
Yeah.
Are you working on anything else you can talk about now?
Nothing I can talk about, but we hopefully will be going back for a second season, so I'll keep my fingers crossed for that.
Lastly, what do you hope audiences take away from Servant?
I hope they take away that, regardless of what your aspirations are, you also have to deal with life. Life will come at you however it wants to, and it's important to face up to things sometimes, and sometimes you do your best and you end up getting a rubber doll to try and keep your wife alive and with you, and maybe it's not the best decision, so mistakes happen.
Right. But this show is not a mistake, so congratulations. I love the genre. I love the style of it. Tell me, what was the conception of the project?
Just wanting to write about parenthood, wanting to write about how it changes your life and the mess you can make. I'm a negative human being, and I'm a defeatist. So what I do is when somebody hands me a newborn baby, I think about what am I going to do? Am I going to drop this? Am I going and there's disastrous stories, as my children could tell you, throughout the years, the things I've done wrong. But I think once that happens in your life, as a writer, you grab it and go, yeah, I can understand this.
So you pulled actual experiences and use it for the show?
Not so much.
Okay.
I think I like to take tiny experiences and exaggerate them into catastrophic circumstances. So that's my approach to this.
What is it about television specifically that fascinates you?
I've always worked in television. I like the fact that I don't have to leave the house to watch it. I like the fact that you take it at your own time. I think particularly now with all the streaming services, with Apple coming into the game, it changes the way that we view television. We can do it all in one block, or we can make our own timetable now. And
you have to wait once a week to wait for that big reveal.
But sometimes that's great. I think a lot of people enjoy that, because why do a cliffhanger if there's no time to hang? You're going to come back the next 20 minutes later and watch the next one. You haven't built the suspense. You haven't built that anticipation with the audience. So sometimes giving everyone a break between episodes is a really good idea.
Okay. And a great idea was hooking up with M. Night Shyamalan. How did that come to be? How did that happen?
It was just fortunate, really. I had written these scripts and given them to our producer, Jason Blumenthal, sorry. And he was shooting a movie in Philadelphia and had dinner with Knight and said, hey, you should read these TV scripts that I got. And Knight read them and responded and said, hey, let's get this guy in, that's all.
I love the visual style. The lighting throughout the house is fantastic. How did you come to that artistic decision?
That's something Knight, he brings his A game to everything he shoots. He's very artistic. He's very he loves cinema, and the way he lights everything, the way he frames everything. He's got so much experience in that. He knows how to create tension just with the camera and the movements. So that's his. You got to ask that question.
I'll ask that to him in a minute.
Yeah.
Any hopes to jump into film?
Who knows? I think stories fit where they're destined to fit. This one felt like a television show, so there were movies in my head, but as and when they come out, we'll see.
So in a post-Harry Potter career, you definitely know how to pick your roles. So how do you go about picking your performances?
I'm really just driven by for this particularly was the script. The fact that we're only half-hour episodes as well, and the kind of psychological thrillers is something that I always kind of gravitate to. But this had so much going for it. It's in many ways such a kind of heavy, upsetting subject matter, but I loved this kind of way that Tony managed to put in such dark humour to balance that, and obviously Knight is a huge attraction. I've been a huge fan of his.
And it's such an interesting character. Did you do a lot of preparation for this role?
Yeah, well, obviously this is the first time I've ever played an American, so that had some new challenges.
That's a challenge, yeah.
It is. We know the accent so well. Our kind of TV, we grew up with kind of the American voice in our head all the time, so it's a very familiar sound, but it's the nuances of it are quite stumbling sometimes. So it was fun though, and I mean it's all down to kind of Tony's writing. When he's got such a clear voice, it kind of comes off the page a lot easier. Yeah.
Now, would you consider the character an anti-hero? Because he's not a villain. He's not a great guy either.
No, he's not. He has some very kind of shady opinions, and that's what I love about the show. I mean, I think with all the characters, you do question: are these people good? Can you trust? Can you fully trust this? And definitely with Julian, he's not the most trustworthy person. Definitely when we first kind of get to know him,
Right.
but it's all out of love, I think, and it's an interesting thought to have watching the series.
What's it like working on a TV show as opposed to a film?
I love it. I love TV. I've done a few shows now, and what I love about it is it's similar to what I had with Potter. It was developing a character over a long period of time.
Right.
In this case, 10 episodes, and it just has so much scope, and with this particularly, it just felt like a very new kind of format, and it just felt very, very exciting.
What do you hope audiences take away from the show?
So much. I think it inspires kind of conversation. I mean, even when reading the scripts, you're constantly saying, what would you do if you put yourself in that situation, and it really does kind of make you think. And I think 3 episodes on the 20th of November, so that's kind of you can't do it all at once, so you have to.
It's a little much.
It keeps you waiting.
I went through 4 episodes, and it was a little much. Yeah,
it's a lot.
It's heavy.
It's heavy. It's heavy ideas and material. So it's not easy. It's not an easy watch.
Congratulations on the show. It's fantastic.
Thank you.
So how does it feel to be the modern day Alfred Hitchcock?
Oh my gosh, I don't know if that's true at all, right? But I love suspense, and he's definitely the greatest teacher of that. So I'll keep on studying him.
Yeah. Are there any genres that you haven't done that you want to get into?
Well, I try to bend the genre, so I don't feel as that much of a suffocation. Where if I want to add romance, I can. If I want to add humor, I try to work that in. As long as you kind of remember what the kind of main genre is, you can work other genres in there. At least that's my feeling.
Okay.
Yeah.
TV versus film, do you have a preference?
Definitely I'm a film guy, but what I'm trying to do here is something, I guess, new. This 30-minute format is something new. Content now is changing shape so much. So in my head, I have an ending to this story, and I have an ending of how long it's going to take us there. So hopefully you guys will feel that. It doesn't go on and on and on forever with any blurriness. We're aiming towards an answer there. And so you'll feel that, but I get to deal with a lot of character stuff because it's in a longer format.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And one last question. What do you hope audiences take away from this show?
Gosh, I hope it's equal parts as much a ride as it is something really meaningful for them, because it's dealing with something very tragic and beautiful about humanity, but it's very scary and it's very funny and there's a mystery. So hopefully they'll feel both those things.
And there you have it, guys. The new Apple TV Plus show, Servant, from the great mind of M. Night Shyamalan. Check it out.